the question is on critical thinking. I understand it in short as a something, the ability that triggers that is triggered by the situation one is not prepared or can ever be prepared for. Can you explain this, how you see critical thinking?
Critical thinking is something that should be taught starting with probably, second or third grade on. And some of the very basics of it are things like understand the difference between a fact and an opinion. We probably all, maybe we were there back when third grade, maybe they said something about that, but most people didn't pay attention. There are facts and there are opinions, and almost everything in our world, most of the time, are opinions. We run into very few facts, but we have lots and lots of people who are passing their opinions off as facts. And they talk about their opinions as facts. And when they get to the point that they have beliefs, then all of their beliefs in their own mind become facts. So we have all of these pseudo facts running around. Oh, this is what happened. This is what happens. Oh, if you do this, that's good, that's bad, and all this stuff. And if you look at it, you'll find most of the time there are no facts. They're just lots of people with opinions. And when you start digging for facts, you'll find it'll take you time. To find a fact requires research, and it requires a fair amount of research. Because our culture, our lives now are so complex in that we interact with so much. We have the internet, we have news, we have TV, we have radio, we have all these things going on. And there's people from all over with all different sorts of opinions, passing them all off as facts. To get the facts, you actually have to go to where the action is firsthand and see it for yourself, and then it becomes a fact. If you listen to somebody tell you about it, what you're getting is their opinion. They can't tell you, they can say, well, I was there and I looked at it and here's what I saw. But what they saw is colored very much by their opinions, by their beliefs, by their amount of knowledge or amount of ignorance. It's all colored. So what you get from somebody else who's been there is somebody else's opinion about what they saw.
So it's like no assumption.
Yes, exactly. Don't make assumptions. Separate the assumptions, from the facts. And if we do that, then we won't be taken in by so much stuff. We won't get swallowed up by other people's beliefs and other people's issues and other people's need to get attention and all sorts of things, drive what people say and how they say it. If you look at it and say, well, I really don't know the facts. Now, I've heard this side and I've heard that side, and the facts, well, gee, I'd have to be a chemist and, have 20 years of experience and be inside, this industry or that industry to really know what the facts were. And I'm none of those things. Therefore, I'm not going to find any facts. I'm only going to find opinions. And instead of saying, well, which opinion should I believe? Don't go there. You should believe none of them. You should say, well, I think this opinion sounds maybe more credible than that opinion, but I don't know. So learn to live with uncertainty. That's the key. You don't have to know. You don't have to believe one or the other. Which one's right, which one's wrong? Well, I don't know is a good place to be. And now after you get to I don't know, you can say, well, I have choices to make though. I have to make a choice. Am I going to do this or that based on all this stuff? You have to think about it, give it your best due diligence for thought, which one would appear to be most likely right. And if you don't know, keep an open mind. But if you have to make a choice, then go do that one. So you start looking for ways to get your own facts, if you will, based on what the opinions are and how those opinions play out in the world as time goes by. That's how you basically gather facts. You look at the results. Do the results represent, the story? So live comfortably with uncertainty. Don't jump to one or the other. Listen to both, pay attention to both, read both sides. And when both sides make a statement that something's going to happen at some time or some place, then write that down, because now you have something that's either going to happen or it's not. And that will be a fact. And you'll know that. Now you'll have a fact. They either predicted correctly or they didn't. And then you'll have something now to shift those probabilities a little. Well, they said this and that didn't happen, so I'm going to shift the probabilities a little bit. So that's the way to live your life, is most basically aware of your ignorance, that you don't really know what the facts are, aware of most other people's ignorance too. They really don't know what the facts are either. They're just repeating what other people have told them, what they believe. You're getting their beliefs, even though they tell it like they're facts. So, in other words, be skeptical of everything. Stay skeptical of everything. And live comfortably with uncertainty, and try to create your own facts based on the claims that others make and whether or not those claims come true. Now, if you see a group that never claims anything in particular, they have all these ideas, but there's actually no meat there. They never actually say at this time and place something's going to happen. It's all up in the sky. It's all kind of etheric, and it never really has any meat in it that you can grab hold of. Well, be doubly suspicious of that, because if people actually had the facts, they'd be able to tell you things that will happen at this time, at this place. Otherwise, they're mostly just blowing smoke. They're making things up. So people who make things up avoid saying anything that they can actually be caught with or that they'd have to admit to later. So that's another way of looking at it. So yes, keep in mind what's an opinion and what's a fact. Very few facts that we have. The facts we have are the things we personally see, that we personally measure. Those are our facts. Not necessarily everybody's fact, but they're our facts. And we have to make our choices based on our facts, not on what other people tell us about the world. Make it on your own assessment as best you can. Trust yourself and your own information more than you trust the expert who is telling you what he believes rather than what he knows. So that would be my opinion on that. That's my opinion on that.